everybody? Jensen Cummings here. Thank you for tuning in. Katy is excited. I have Katy Osuna, who is the host and co-creator of Copper and Heat, based out of Oakland, California. Katy, I'm excited. Our energy is high this morning.
Hell yeah, me too.
Yes,
I hadn't asked you. Can we curse on this? I should probably watch myself.
Absolutely. You're so gracious. You asked that in the full episode of your podcast.
I know.
And I was like, yes. I
always have to ask.
I appreciate that. And I'm always like, just let it rip. You do you. And so actually, speaking of your episode, for everyone out there, this morning, your episode is coming out. So as soon as everyone's done watching this, go check out bestservepodcast.com, wherever you get your podcasts. That was an awesome episode. I actually edited the whole thing myself. I hope I did a good job. And
love it.
Awesome. I was like, I need some cheese right now. That's some foreshadowing. I need some cheese right now.
Pretty amazing. Sure I ate mac and cheese later that day.
She got me fired up too. Edelyn Garcia is your nominee for one of your unsung hospitality heroes. She's in your episode. And I want to go work for her. Like I really liked her energy. It was amazing. And I'm excited about
She's great.
So that was the end of February, beginning of March that we recorded that. A lot has changed since then. And so take us to that moment. And I want to set the table for people. We are communicators. We thrive off of sharing stories, hearing stories, telling stories. And that's been sidetracked a little bit. You know, we're still doing things like this, but we're having to shift and pivot from like the models, the platforms that we really develop that make us feel comfortable and bring us joy and hopefully bring some to other people. So take us back to that moment where you realize I can't keep going the way I'm going, at least for now, because it just doesn't feel right. Take us to that moment for you.
Damn.
We're going deep right away.
It's been a wild month. And all right, let's go back. So right around when we did our interview for your podcast, I was going into like a super busy, or like right in the middle of a really busy time. I was contracting to help open a restaurant. They opened the 4th of March officially. And so we were doing all the training. We were getting everything going. We were deep in it. I traveled to DC and Boston within a week of each other, doing some podcast stuff. And the last one that I did was in Boston. And I was in Boston I was recording a live event with Irene Lee of May. So she had opened her books to the public and was like doing a big thing around that. And then I talked to her and the organization Rethink Restaurants that helped her like implement open book management at her restaurant. And so all of that was happening the first week of March. I was across the country. I come back, work at the restaurant that I was helping to open for 2 days. And then like all hell broke loose in the Bay Area. And so like everything was kind of happening. Things were slower and we're like, okay, what's going to happen? And all of a sudden, like we're sheltering in place and like nobody's allowed out. And obviously all the restaurants closed their dining rooms. And so it just kind of all came to a halt really quickly, which was weird.
It's weird. It was strange because it happened very quickly and it was like a slow train wreck at the same time where you kind of all remember where you were at 9/11. Like that's a moment because it was a singular moment. And this was like this compression of so many moments that you're like, nah, that's not coming. And then all of a sudden it was here and it came very slowly, yet very quickly. It had a massive impact. So clear that you felt that. So this is something I'm very interested in because I've been struggling with this. And Katy, for everyone who doesn't know, is one of my new gurus. She's an anthropologist. The way that you think about people, you is good. Let's just say that. And we'll get into it more. I like it a lot because you're just thinking through a wider lens than a lot of us who get caught up in the minutia, and especially in restaurants, right? The whole thesis of this show is to focus on why and who before what and how, because what and how just grinds you so often. So I'm very interested in the way that you have perspective around that. So I want people to know that is, I'm thinking about what would Katy do in this moment? And so I've struggled with how do I continue to communicate, be relevant, and also be sensitive to the fact that like nobody wants to be on an interview with me talking about growing up and cooking menudo with their grandparents right now because we feels like we have to talk about COVID-19. So talk about that a little bit. I don't know if I set you up well or if that was confusing as hell. Let's talk about that a little bit.
That's good. Yeah, it's really fucking hard. Like
I told you, she's got the words, the gift. The gift.
I mean, that's what like literally everybody is saying right now. It's just everything is just really fucking hard, and you have to completely rethink everything. Yeah, I have been trying to figure that out from a lot of different points of view because like obviously first and foremost I am in an incredibly privileged position to where like my partner still has a job. We can still be in our apartment, like we haven't been even close to being evicted yet, and like you know there's a lot of people in the industry that don't have that. There's a lot of chefs that are just like thinking about like what's going to happen to all my people and what's going to happen to my business and all that. So obviously probably a lot of your listeners and viewers already know all of this, but like sure. I come at it from a very privileged position. And so I'm trying to be sensitive to that fact. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is speaking of like trying to create content and like talk to people, I have kind of wanted to give people time to cool off a little bit before I approach them and be like, hey, I know you're having a lot of really hard feelings right now, but you want to come and talk to me about it? Like I gave it a few weeks before I even started approaching people about it. And even then I haven't reached out to very many people. My biggest thing has just been going back and reaching out to the different people that I've interviewed and just been like, hey, if you need anything, let me know. And like, that's where I'm just leaving it right now. And then I'm just trying to maybe not create content, but share the content that's already out there that I believe is doing things that are good. And like you said, like I think a lot big picture, and because I'm in this privileged position, I don't have to worry about like what's going to happen to me next week. I'm trying to think of like what's going to happen to everybody that works in restaurants like 6 months, a year from now, 2 years from now, 20 years from now. And so I'm trying to read all the content and kind of think pieces on that and see what people are thinking. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's what I'm doing right now. Also trying not to just spiral downwards. So
that's the thing about that question is there is no answer to that question. Every hour, every day, it's shifting sands. And for us to be able to just try and ask the questions, I think is the thing that we always do. I have zero fucking answers about anything ever, pretty much. Like I just sometimes am lucky and ask good questions, find smart people, and recognize good answers. That's always been my goal. And so just the fact that we're struggling with it, I think is the answer. Like that is the answer. And so I know that people are reaching out to you daily. People look to you for guidance within the industry, a source of information, inspiration, whatever that is for you. When somebody reaches out to you, say, Katy, what are you hearing? What's going on? Like, what's the first instinct you have, the first reaction to just quell what I'm sure is a lot of fear and anxiety on the other side of that text, call, Zoom, whatever that is? Talk about that, because I know people are reaching out to you. You're getting blown up, I'm sure. What is that like? And now you have like a responsibility. Is that crazy?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I have had a few people reach out to me. I've been trying to reach out to people and check on people a lot. I think my first thing is just asking how they're doing. Are they okay? Do they need anything? So that's been like my first thing, because again, my privileged position, like I can at least help people in like some small way. The other thing, like there are a lot of resources out there right now. There are just so many that it's really, really, really overwhelming to try and figure out, like, okay, I'm unemployed right now. Where do I go? And how the fuck do I figure out how to fill out this paperwork? Like, so I've been trying to find out as much as possible about those things so that I can help people through it. I still don't, it's still really all very confusing.
Yes.
But there have been a couple like resources that, like, James Beard Foundation has been really great. They've been hosting a lot of webinars, going through things with some like lawyers and accountants to help people just like navigate that whole thing. And that's been really helpful to understanding it. So that's been kind of my go-to. It's a big struggle for a lot of people. And so I just hope everybody's figuring out how to take care of themselves and their family.
Yeah. And I'm also just feeling the sense of hospitality in the industry is still so strong. People are, a couple weeks away from having zero and potentially, getting evicted and all these different like heavy, serious life stuff. Yet they're reaching out saying, is there anywhere I can volunteer at like a soup kitchen to cook for clinicians and frontliners? And like, you are the best version of what it means to be a human being in this moment. Like, this adversity is really showing the character on both sides. People go into their camps, you're either finding opportunities to be kind or you're an asshole. Like, and fear is a great way. It's horrible to say, but it is a way to kind of see where people's default settings are. And so I'm inspired every day, which is why I'm just trying to hustle and have conversations. I don't know if there's any answers. I just feel like we need to keep talking to each other.
I know.
It's wild. When we were doing sound check last night, I don't know why this popped in my head, but I had the window open out here, and at 8 p.m. in our like neighborhood, we're having howl. Like, everyone howls. And my two sons are down here howling at the moon, and our neighbors are howling, and it's happening across Denver. And you're like, what is that noise? It's like, there's some wild animals out front. But it was just like that single moment of levity that you and I laughed about it was like the greatest part of the day yesterday. And so trying to create those moments. And so now you're reaching out to people. It's kind of settled down. I want to talk about your last episode. You mentioned May, and that was supposed to come out. You postponed it to kind of let everyone settle down a little bit. Now you're thinking about that episode, and you're also thinking about what you do next. Let's get into your head a little bit as far as where your head's at, what you're thinking. And yes. and knowing that people, like, they need your style of communication. I listened to the first episode of Be a Girl, like, when we first scheduled this, like a week ago. I was like, I really like that episode. And I'll tell everyone right now, I usually don't do a ton of plugs, but like, go listen to the first season of Copper and Heat, Be a Girl, for which you won a James Beard Award. Amazing. Well-deserved. It has a cool, quick, hard-hitting vibe, and it's playful, and the music and sound is really, really elegant and catchy. Very like Radio Lab esque, highly produced.
Sweet.
So go check that out. And now tell me, like, what you're thinking about this current episode and kind of what you do next as far as continuing to communicate with people and share.
Yeah. So, like you said, we're I'm trying to figure out when we're going to release the episode. I actually have a follow-up interview with Irene from May later today, just to kind of see what's going on. And the whole episode was about kind of that open book management, the financials of restaurants, how hard it is to be a restaurant, and especially a small independent restaurant. Like, so if, for those of you that don't know, this is the restaurant that, if you read that Eater piece, like how hard it is to be a restaurant, or how much restaurants really make, whatever, I don't remember the title of it exactly, but she's the one.
I'm gonna find it and link it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, or what restaurants really cost. Anyway, the whole point of the story was that she broke down her financials, opened it up to people to show, like, they're running at a 2% profit margin, basically, and kind of breaking that down and understanding how and why. And so that's what the entire episode was going to be about, which it still is. But now with this backdrop of, in this time of crisis, like what happens to small independent restaurants that on average have a profit margin of like 4 to 6%, which is, we don't know yet. We have no idea yet. So anyway, that's what this episode's going to be about now. I don't know when it's going to come out. It kind of depends on what Irene and I talk about and how I kind of fit it into what we were thinking about talking about before in the episode. And like Jensen said, like our episodes are more, they're not one-on-one interview style with like one interview. It's a narrative that's kind of woven together with sound design and music. And so it takes us a little bit of time to put those things together.
I mentioned that I have edited your episode, and while I'm doing it, I'm like, how the fuck do you produce those episodes? I can't. No chance. I have zero chance of ever producing an episode like you two do, because I can barely trim on Audacity, and I'm like, my brain's melting right now. So a lot of respect to do that.
Thank God.
Goes into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a partner that is a musician and sound person already. So that was a big plus for me with this. I mean, this was all his idea anyway. And he had like the software to be able to do it a little bit more easy than Audacity, I think. So anyway, right, that's how we do it, but it still takes forever.
Let's talk about him. Introduce him, because I know everything you've done with Copper and Heat, really, he was a catalyst for and definitely produced. You mentioned that. You're the voice, but he definitely is propping a lot of things up. And then now it's the two of you. Andy still has a job. He's winning. He's the best, right? So let's talk about him a little bit.
And it should be noted, like, he has had this full-time, like, crazy tech startup job the entire time that we've been doing this together. So, like, I went full-time doing this, like, last July, I think. And he's had a full-time job this entire time, working, like, crazy techie hours and stuff. So, like, damn. His name's Ricardo, by the way, Ricardo Osuna. So, obviously, he's my partner in life and on the podcast. Yeah, and we also have, so one of my best childhood friends, Rachel Palmer, she came on as like our official story editor. She helped a ton with our first season, just because she would listen to it and be like, hey, here are some of my notes. And it was like so fucking helpful, because she studied broadcast in college. And so I was like, damn, thank God. And so we officially brought her on. And so she's been helping obviously with this season a lot, but with an official title now. Not that like, I don't know, we haven't been able to pay anybody, including ourselves. So that's like one thing, but
for sure.
Anyway, so yeah, as far as like what happens next, I don't know. And I had this like Zoom happy hour with a couple friends of mine, cook friends. They were actually both in season 1, Dan and Koji. They were both in season 1. And we were chatting the other day, and I was talking about like, I don't know what to do next. Like, we have this one last episode, but like, I don't know what else. And they were both talking about like, I just want a distraction. Like, I don't want to talk about any of this anymore. Like, I don't want to have to deal with it. I'm like, fair. That is totally fair. So like, I know the point of Copper and Heat has been to kind of talk about these really hard, tough subjects. And I don't want to lose that, because I think right now is also kind of a defining moment as we come out of this, is going to kind of define what the industry looks like going forward. And I really, really, really hope that it's not the same. I hope that it's better. That's my biggest fear. But I also understand that people want just to like turn their fucking brains off and be like, watch Tiger King. So like, That's what I'm trying to figure out, is like, how do we kind of bring in some things like that and not talk about coronavirus for a little bit, and like just kind of come together as a food industry. So I'm thinking, I don't know if we do some like mini episode kind of things, or just like a short little series during the summer to get people through this or what, but trying to figure that out right now.
Yeah. Well, unpacking a couple things you just said, the industry will change. It has changed. It will never, ever be the same.
Oh, no.
That is without a doubt. Mentioned the humanity, like the kindness and the hospitality that we're seeing playing out. So that clearly is the only thing we have in this moment is why and who. Like why we do what we do is to truly be of service and to create community and to connect with people, which is why this is a struggle for our industry, especially. We're built around face-to-face interaction. And now this is as face-to-face as we get. And things like unemployment or trying to navigate PPP, SBA, EIDLs, CARES Act, like all of a sudden we're having to interact with computers a lot more, and it's a inhumane process, a lot of things that we're having to do right now. And so we're struggling with that. Yet our humanity is being shown, and our vulnerability when it comes to the business models, the financial models, to the point of your episode, we're always there. Now they're being exposed in a very different way, and we're gonna have to rethink a lot of things. In 2008, with the crash, crystal and white tablecloths went away. This now, what's gonna happen next is another simplification. What that simplification means is gonna be the question. And so now, to what you had in that conversation with Dan and Koji, they need season 1 of your podcast. Like they need that type of moments of levity. Do you think you can have those type of conversations? Can you have the conversation with somebody or myself about, again, growing up and learning menudo from your grandparents? Can people have that moment where they talk about the pure joy and memory of it and never mentioned coronavirus? Practically, do you think that can happen right now?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think a lot of people are just like, it's just all too scary right now and very, very, very uncertain.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like the fact that there are so many live cooking classes that chefs are doing and stuff like that without ever mentioning coronavirus. So maybe people would want to just like, I don't know, if we did like a mini series, what's your favorite tool, or tell me about like the favorite tool in your toolbox or something, like get people thinking about that kind of stuff again. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everybody out there that's listening, would you?
Yeah. Well, and that's been as well as trying to figure out all of a sudden, like I got added to some press Facebook groups. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not press. I don't know how to.
You are.
Be press. Yeah, right. And I'm like, no, maybe I'm a personality, but I'm definitely not press. I just don't think about it that much. I'm like, just keep talking until something makes sense. That's like what I'm going to do. And so, but now all of a sudden, like thousands of people over the last weeks, that I've shared hundreds and hundreds of posts across groups all over and different platforms, been like really trying to hustle, because it's like that's all I know how to do is talk and hustle. Like, so let's just keep doing that. And then people start reaching out, and I feel a sense of responsibility now, which is strange. And then people saying like, oh, I just listened to that episode you just put out on Debbie Gold in Chicago like 2 weeks ago. It was so awesome. And then I look at the back end, and our listenership is like ridiculously up, especially on the last couple episodes. So people clearly need it. I just don't know how comfortable I am sitting down and be like, all right, tell me where you're from originally. Oh, really cool. Tell me about the goat farm that you worked on. Oh, amazing. Tell me about the cheese that you use for quesadillas. And then tell me about Edelyn Garcia and how amazing it was to work with her. Does that feel genuine, knowing that that's happening right now?
Yeah.
Is the question that I have. And I think it's going to come down to the individuals. And I'm hoping that there's a handful of people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, that are like, I really am going to disconnect from all that, and I want to have this conversation with you more than anything right now. And then I will say yes, because if that's what you need, I'm so willing to do that. So I'm hoping that happens now as we are hopefully starting to hit an equilibrium. The two things, and maybe this helps you, maybe I can impart some wisdom on you as you always do to me, is unemployment and then everything happening with the PPP. These are two things that are happening where as soon as the majority of our people have some financial stability and then are potentially put back to work where the businesses are doing something to then support their staff, those two moments feel like now they're less in scarcity and survival mode and more in a mindset of abundance potentially, and then are able to then think about something besides their own mortality, right? Their own survival in this moment. So that's something that you're reflecting on as far as the timing goes as well?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, this is where my cynical brain comes out a lot. And so I've been trying to keep my cynical brain in check through all of this because it's not good for my mental health. But like, that's the goal of like the stimulus, right? Is to like get people in abundance so that they will go and spend stuff and so that our economy doesn't completely tank. But as part of some of these like webinars and groups that I've been a part of, like unemployment, like the stimulus bill money could before it gets me, and like it doesn't take care of a big portion of people like undocumented workers, which like what kitchen have you ever worked in that didn't have somebody? So like I am hopeful that that's going to happen, and I cannot wait for at least some people to be taken care of because like this is just devastating for so many people. But like I'm afraid people get left behind in that. I know that's not what you were asking about, but like that's where like my head goes with all of this, and like that's why I say like downward spiral. Like I get really like in my head about all of this, and like you said, like it's hard to have a conversation with people when there are like these bigger, more, I mean, maybe not more pressing, but like really daunting issues that have been a problem in the industry for years, long before all this happened.
Right.
So anyway, that's like where my head ends up going. And like, I hope that we can have some of those like more happy, positive, optimistic conversations to take people kind of out of the moment, because I mean, you have to take care of yourself and your brain and your mental health before you can do anything else, for sure. And so I'm trying to figure out how I personally, like you said, I personally can have those conversations without talking about the bigger, scarier things.
Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like, again, I joked about your episode. And once again, go listen to that episode. And we were lucky because we had the conversation pre all of this madness. And so it's so genuine and real and like heartfelt, and you're giggling half the time because you're just so excited to talk about goat cheese. Amazing. Like that's what people need right now. But to your point, is it tone deaf if today I were to interview and tell me and joke about what kind of cheese you use in your mac and cheese, and we joke about Kraft mac and cheese, is that tone deaf? And that's part of, we don't have the answer. You and I, and I want to talk to some other content producers about that as well. Wherein is our responsibility? Wherein are we being respectful of the moment, and wherein are we actually taking control of the moment and saying we are not going to let this define us? We're going to continue to share and communicate the way that we have because people have asked us and are asking that of us. And that's what I'm hoping we find, kind of that sweet spot. And so I'm excited because I know how thoughtful and cerebral you are and how much thinking about how you share going forward, like, consumes you. I can just see it on your face right now.
I overthink just a little bit.
You're an overthinker. Oh yeah. Me, I don't think at all. I just know you're an overthinker for sure, which is like, I love, again, like our dynamic is great because we come from the same place here. And then once it goes into here and here, we go in different directions, which I like about our interaction. And so
for sure,
for you, whatever comes next, I'm excited because it's going to be very, very thoughtful. And so even just a deep breath, you got this. I didn't know this was going to turn into a therapy session, but I appreciate you taking the time to kind of talk to us a little bit. Let's keep this conversation going, you and I, because
please.
we need to produce content. For selfishly, I can't just sit back and not communicate with people. I can't do it. I don't know how. And so I'm doing this awkwardly, just throwing stuff out there, being like, hey,
I love it. It's great. So glad you're doing this.
But I need to get back to, just like you need to get back to, telling stories in the way that's compelling, the most compelling to us. And so here's what we're going to do. It's you and me. Nobody's watching this anyway.
Great.
I really want you to share that May episode with me. I want to listen to it. Great. I want to listen to it.
That's good.
I'll sign an NDA. Nobody will know anything about it. I want to hear your storytelling, and we need it. So I am throwing down the challenge to you. I need your content.
Okay.
If you bring only value to one person, this guy, you have won. That's something that I believe. I have no idea what I'm doing. That's it.
That's what I need for sure. One person.
I'm the first public person to listen to the May episode, and I will just report on how it made me feel. I will tell you nothing about what's in the episode, because it'll probably be even better once you tweak it and you and Irene turn it into the juggernaut that I'm sure it'll be. Katy.
Yeah.
Awesome talking with you.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
So great. All right.
We'll keep talking.
Playlist items. Tell us a couple things besides Copper and Heat and, of course, the Best Served podcast that you are listening to, watching, reading, games you're playing, anything that you're doing right now. Create some moments of levity. Give us a few things that we can binge on besides Tiger King. You already threw that out.
I haven't actually watched that.
I have not either.
Saying I need to, and I'm like, I don't know if I can handle it, to be honest. So like food content wise, I actually watched all of the second season of Ugly Delicious the other day, which I hadn't watched, and like it was good. I liked it. There were some things that I was like, but for the most part, it was great to watch, and it's like funny to watch it now before all of this happened. And then not food content wise, Ricardo and I have decided that we're gonna watch all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies in chronological order. So we're about 11 movies in.
By storyline, right? Not by
storyline, not by when they were created. So
how many hours is that? I remember reading once how many hours that is. It's ridiculous.
Like 50 hours. There's 23 movies and they're each like 2+ hours. It's a project, and we're 11 movies in. We've got 12 left. So that's been obviously taking up a lot of time, which is great. It's been great to action movies are just so good to like get out of your brain. Like I love that. I also, not a lot of people know this about me, I like anime a lot. And so a project that I had not done yet, there's this show called Bleach. It has like 350 episodes or something. And I had never finished it before because it was just too long, and I would get like maybe halfway through. So I've been getting close to finishing that. I'm like episode 270 or something now.
like bleach as in
Clorox bleach. It has nothing, like I don't know where that name came from. It might have something to do with like translation. I don't know, but it's pretty great. Anime. It's another thing to like completely take you out of a moment, because it's just like ridiculous and silly, and like obviously there's like some action stuff, whatever, but it's just funny. So those have been what I've been doing. I honestly haven't been listening to that many podcasts. Because I usually listen to when I'm like driving.
Not doing a lot of driving right now.
So I'm not going anywhere. But I guess one that I did listen to right as kind of all this started was so Radiolab. You mentioned Radiolab, love it. They did a series, it's 6 episodes, called The Other Latif, which is fucking fascinating. It's about Guantanamo Bay, and specifically one person in Guantanamo Bay and like his story. It's so fucking fascinating and crazy. So would highly recommend that too.
What I like most is you're all over the place.
That like none of it
makes delicious to Marvel to anime to Radiolab, and that's kind of what you need.
Yeah.
To just be well-rounded as a person. If you're just listening to nothing but food podcasts, you might be a little crazy. So
yeah,
balance
palate
it out.
cleansers, and then like I go into content and that like makes me angry, and I'm like, okay, now I'm motivated to do some stuff for a couple days, and okay, I need to go back to my palate cleansers.
It's just managing energy. Katy Osuna,
sure.
Really great talking with you. Really great getting some face-to-face time.
Yeah.
And again, I'm excited to see what you do next because I know it's going to be incredibly thoughtful. And I know a lot of us like me are going to take some cues from you as understanding the timing, because I'm just a bull in a china shop. So I'm just going to do this live show and flail my hands around for a while until I figure out what to do.
I think it's so necessary. I think it's been great what you've been doing. So I'm excited. Yeah, let's keep talking about what we can do.
Let's keep talking. Katy Osuna, Copper and Heat out in Oakland. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, have a great day. See ya.
Bye.
She's awesome. So thoughtful. And that anthropology degree that she has, I like the way that plays out. I really am always interested to hear from her. The context, the time frame that she thinks in is very different. And so she's able to take a step back a lot and look at it because she's thinking in 20-year, 50-year, 150-year kind of lenses a lot in her training. And I'm fascinated by that. And I learn a lot about it being in restaurants for, in the industry for 20 years. It's so easy for me to just like hit my head against the wall again and again and again because you're kind of stuck in that minutia. And so I'm always appreciative because that why and who that has become the bedrock of the way that I view the industry and what Best Served was built around has been something that just thinking about the way that she contextualizes that why and who, because it's even more than just what's right in front of you, has been immensely helpful to me personally. And I'm going to be talking about this a little bit more, what we talked about, because I am struggling personally with knowing how I navigate all of this. You guys have watched me do this live show for the last 2 weeks, multiple episodes a day, trying to just have conversations, then also trying to, be a source of information. And, for me, it's really strange and uncomfortable interviewing the executive deputy director of the Colorado Department of Labor. Like, it's not really how I'm built. It's more this playful, interactive, get some funny, interesting stories and share. And so we're talking more about how I figure out how to continue to share and tell compelling stories, share compelling stories, get interesting people who are much smarter and talented and capable than I am to share their stories and message. That's going to be really something that I'm looking for. So I love all of the direct messages that I get. Please, it fuels me. All of the comments, good and bad. I love criticism, sometimes more than praise. So please just tell me anything and everything, what's going on with you. And if you are somebody who's out there and said, you know what, I need to turn my COVID-19 brain off. I need to fucking disconnect from all of that. And I do want to talk about growing up in small town XYZ and cooking with my grandparents and geeking out with me for an hour, then definitely reach out, because if that's what's needed and asked of me, then I'm here to do that. At the same time, I don't want to start pushing people into that and being tone deaf to the energy that is this moment. Thanks for letting me rant. Now, tomorrow's episode's got 2 shows tomorrow in the morning, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Tina Betts from Human Design in Boulder is going to be on. Tina is a lightning rod. She's been a really strong supporter of me personally and professionally. She has a really interesting take on the industry, and the way that a company like Human Design navigates telling stories is very unique and some of the best in the biz. So we're going to talk a little bit. And then the later show, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, I have AJ Sheikh from the Community Bank of Colorado. He is their SBA specialist, and we're going to get detailed a little bit more from the bank perspective on managing the CARES Act, PPP, SBA loans, disaster loans, EIDL, all of those things. So tomorrow will be a little more informative episode, and hopefully I can get as actionable items for people trying to navigate the financial space of what's happening in the restaurant industry. Long episode today. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow. Tonight, what's tonight? I think tonight's taco night. I'm making tacos tonight, people. I'm excited about that. Cheers.